Hello, I'm Janice Molnar, Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Children and Family Services, Division of Child Care Services. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this webcast. These are times like no other. Governor Cuomo rightly included child care providers and staff among the state's essential workers. You are the stabilizing presence in the lives of so many families, each with their own story and you with yours, about the impact of the coronavirus during the past 2 months. Hope is sometimes hard to find, but even in the last gray days of winter, there were flickers of hope and resilience that let us all know that these days will pass and spring is here. We will get through this even stronger than before. And you are remarkable. Program enrollments are down, but commitment and caring have never been higher. As child care providers, you've continued your passionate dedication to the care of children and families. We've watched you adapt to these changing times with perseverance, grace, and innovation. At OCFS, we are your partners in addressing issues and concerns as they arise, and we're doing all we can to be quick with our responses. As part of our commitment to you, we're presenting this training to share messages of hope and explore ways you can support yourselves, each other, and the children in your care. Thank you for providing our first responders, healthcare workers, and other essential employees with the peace of mind needed to focus on their vital work of addressing this pandemic. And thank you for the important work you do to keep New York going. You are amazing. You are essential. You are essentially amazing. Remember, together we will get through this. Stay safe, stay strong, stay New York tough.
Thank you to Janice Molnar. We really appreciate her time, and hello and welcome to all of you. And welcome to this New York State Office of Children and Family Services training. This is United in Hope, caring for children and child care providers. I'm Trish Geary, and I'm joined tonight by my very good friend and longtime co-worker, Casey Becker. Hi, Casey.
Hello, Trish. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. How are you, Trish?
You know, I'm doing really well. I'm glad you're here with me. This is a great training. I say we get started, Case.
All right, let's do it. You play an essential role in the lives of children and families. You provide a safe and healthy place for children to go every day so their families working in various other essential professions like medical professionals, grocery workers, firefighters, law enforcement, and sanitation workers can continue to also do the vital work all of our communities need. So thank you for all that you're doing to provide safe, quality care during these uncertain times. We appreciate you and we celebrate you.
That's absolutely true, Casey. And in fact, Janice Molnar said that herself. This is really a time to appreciate and celebrate the people that are tuning in tonight, our early childhood educators. And we all know that COVID-19 has really changed the ins and outs of daily life for all of us. We now know about things like social distancing, what that looks like in our homes and communities. And for many of us, that means learning from home, working from home, and also not really being able to have that face-to-face contact with our friends and our loved ones like we're used to. But the message of tonight really is that it will not always be this way. Things are getting better even as we speak. Eventually, all of our programs, all of our businesses, our schools, they're all going to begin to reopen. We're going to be able to gather again, and we're going to all have to figure out together what our new normal is. But what about right now? What can we do in the here and now to be that really positive force in our own families, in our own workplaces, as well as our own communities? And I want to say that to prepare for tonight's training, all of our team talk to providers. We talk to regulators about what they're doing to really be that positive force for you all and provide inspirational messages and hope for everyone. And in response, We got tons of photos, notes, video messages, all of which I think Casey would agree with me really highlight the amazing stuff that's going on all over New York State right now. And throughout tonight's training, we are going to be sharing some of those messages with you. In fact, Casey, I'm going to put you on board to deliver our first one.
Thanks, Trish. I do have this first message of hope, and it comes from Stacy, the Deputy Director of the New York City Child Care Operations. Stacy wrote, "Thanks to all the child care providers across New York State, especially our New York City providers. You are some of the unsung heroes working diligently to care for our children. You provide a service that is invaluable as you guide, teach, and love our youngest New Yorkers. The world may have changed drastically in the past 2 months, but you have continued to persevere and maintain a safe, secure, and loving environment for all. Hats off to all of you for the work that you do and will continue to do throughout this pandemic."
That's a really, really nice message. It's beautiful. It's super positive, and I think it really is a good note to start out on then for our training tonight, Casey, because that positive energy is what we want to start out with. And what we want to end with is this. By the end of our training this evening, we want you to be able to have a better understanding of all the information and things like CDC guidelines for operating childcare programs during COVID-19. You'll be able to identify signs and symptoms that someone, either you're working with or maybe a child in your care, is experiencing trauma. You'll be able to implement strategies to help reduce stress, not only for yourself, but for the children you care for. And perhaps most importantly, you're going to be able to walk away tonight with a sense of hope, empowerment, support, and gratitude for all the good stuff that's going on.
And there is a lot of good stuff going on, Trish, and we did get a lot of messages and things from the field, and so we'll be sharing those throughout, as you had said earlier. And speaking of sharing, if you have questions throughout the training, if anyone has questions, we ask that you please submit them through the ECETP mailbox. You can see the address on your screen. That is the way we will be communicating. So if you have questions, technical questions, content questions, any kind of questions, send them right to that ECETP mailbox, and someone will be there to respond. And if they don't have a specific answer for you right now, someone will follow up with you in the coming days. And we'd also like to encourage you to use that mailbox as a way to tell us some of the things that you're currently doing, maybe things you're doing differently in your program around cleaning or sanitizing or drop-off or pickup, ways you're staying connected with families, and maybe sharing some of those really fantastic ideas that you're doing, activities you're doing with the children right now. And we're also interested in hearing about maybe some of the resources that are available in your community so that we can share that with others, give people ideas of what's out there, what they may be able to look for in their own communities. And we'd also like to hear from you if you've got short messages of hope that you'd like us to share. And we'd like you to send all these ideas to that mailbox so that hopefully we can share some of them throughout our time together.
We've always said that the providers and the early childhood educators watching us tonight really are the experts. Your best practice suggestions are just so excellent. You guys are already doing a lot of this work, and we're learning a lot from you. Like Casey says, please do share those awesome ideas. Keep those coming, and hopefully Casey and I can chat about a few of them and share them with others tonight as we go through. So that's how to get in touch with us. Let's start in earnest tonight by talking about some of the common things we can all do, both in our personal and professional lives, to prevent the spread of illness, whether that is COVID-19 or in our everyday practice. This is just good everyday practice. And you're already doing most of these things as providers, and you're doing them really well because you're already following your healthcare plan. Casey, can you just walk us through a quick review, though, of some of the everyday prevention reminders we do want to share as we start?
Sure, Trish, I'd be happy to. The first one we want to remind everybody about is to wash your hands and wash them often with soap and water.
Oh, sorry, Casey, I apologize. I think I just accidentally muted you. We're not going to be hanging out now. Uh-oh.
All right, am I good? You good?
You're good. Sorry.
It's It's okay. Let me start that over. So we're talking about everyday prevention. So things that you can do: wash your hands frequently with soap and water, or if that's not available, using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. And if you are using hand sanitizer and that's available, make sure you're supervising the children when around that hand sanitizer just to prevent any ingestion. You also want to be cleaning and disinfecting frequently touch surfaces. You want to be doing that often. You want to cover your coughs and your sneezes, and you also want to require any sick children or staff to stay at home. Those are all everyday prevention things that we can do to help prevent all kinds of illnesses.
Really good suggestions. And of course, in addition to these everyday preventive actions, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, has actually issued guidelines specific to childcare programs to really help prevent the spread of COVID-19. And the CDC and New York State Department of Health, by the way, obviously are all over this situation. They're updating their guidance as things evolve, which, excuse me, as we all know, is daily. OCFS, though, here's the good news. They have been actually collecting all of this guidance, monitoring CDC, monitoring DOH, adding everything to their website as it becomes available. So the good news is you've got a one-stop shop, and you're seeing it on your screen. Be sure to visit OCFS at this COVID-19 link. Go ahead and search it right when you get there to the OCFS site to get this most current information. And we do want to mention, Casey, I know you also included that link in the handouts as well. We do, though, because you reminded me of this the other day, when we're talking about these CDC guidelines that we're sharing tonight, these do not supersede any of your applicable federal, state, local laws, policies for child care programs, but we do offer them because they are the CDC guidelines.
That's correct, Trish. And that guidance, they address quite a few areas that we're going to be talking about tonight. And they are wearing face coverings, implementing social distancing strategies, intensifying cleaning and disinfection efforts, modifying drop-off and pickup procedures, and implementing screening procedures upon arrival. So Trish, I think you've got some information for us about face coverings. What can you tell us?
I do. Now, when you're caring for children, you are currently required to wear face coverings. While you're caring for children, also while you're interacting with parents at your drop-off and pickup times. So you must wear face coverings. What are face coverings? Well, these include, but they're not limited to, things like cloth coverings. These can be homemade, sewn coverings, quick cut kind of things, bandanas. Face coverings can be surgical masks, the N95 respirators a lot of us are used to for home improvement use. Face shields are another example. So Casey, providers wear face coverings, right?
True, they do. But the children in the program, they do not. So, this could lead to some confusion for the children. They may be wondering, why do you have to wear a mask and I don't? And, your wearing masks could also scare some of the children because all of a sudden you look and you sound different, not what they're used to. So we wanted to give everybody some tips maybe on things to keep in mind to help children adjust to your wearing a mask. Um, maybe start out by explaining that you wear the mask as a way to help others by keeping yourself and others safe. So it's all about safety. Compare wearing the masks to washing your hands or coughing into your elbow as ways we all stay healthy. Maybe demonstrate using masks with dolls or puppets. So sit with the children, practice putting the mask on the doll, take the mask off the doll and put it back on a couple of times so the children can see that the doll is the same doll whether the mask is on or off. And let the children practice with the mask and the doll. And do this a couple of times with them until they get used to it. If you can, find books, pictures, or posters with people wearing masks and share those with the children. And if you can't find any, go ahead and make your own. I think that's a really good way to get the children involved and help take some of that fear out of it for them. And we want to just remind everybody that, each child is unique and will respond to changes differently. So what frightens or excites one child may not have that effect on another child. So we want to be sure that we're using developmentally appropriate strategies and really tailoring our approaches to meet the needs of each of the individual children that we're caring for.
Those are all really great suggestions, Casey, and I think, we can't point it out enough. Things are different now. Your programs are not meant to be places of social distancing. Children are not going to be used to this kind of thing. I mean, really, you're meant to nurture and care for children. That means hugging a sad child, maybe high-fiving a child who has successfully achieved a new skill, or even sitting close and just reading a good book. And if you work with even younger children, it means things like holding babies when you bottle feed them, you're changing their diapers, and none of these things, none of them can be done while you're staying 6 feet apart. So things are vastly different. But what does social distancing really look like in childcare? OCFS does have some recommendations that we want to talk about, and these are all based on CDC guidelines. And these are, if possible, your classes should really include the same group of children and staff each day. And those groups must be limited to no more than 10 people, and this includes the teachers in that group. Large group activities right now are prohibited. Unfortunately, this means you're canceling or postponing special events or performances. Don't give up hope, though. We're going to give you some really awesome suggestions that have been shared by all of you later for how you can still do some of those sorts of things and stay connected. But another guideline from OCFS is that groups of children must be kept separate. They cannot utilize the play or group common areas at the same time. What does this mean to you? This means you must stagger things like playground times. You keep group activities like art or music or exercise, even meal and circle times. These must be kept separate right now. Also, you want to keep children's sleeping cots and cribs 6 feet apart if it's possible, and just consider placing all the children head to toe at rest. Again, we're looking for ways to stop that transmission. Finally, OCFS is suggesting you consider staggering your arrival and pickup times. Why? This is to limit that parental or adult exposure that could happen inside your program. And I think these are really common sense, good guidelines.
They are, Trish. And during those arrivals and pickups, everyone's worked really hard to build and maintain close, trusting relationships with the families,
And that's changed. That's so changed right now, hasn't it?
It has, and people are used to talking face to face with families on a daily basis, and the social distancing is really making this challenging. So we've got to be creative. Now, the CDC states that you should share information about the child's day with parents either over the phone or with a written note so you can maintain those social distancing guidelines. But you may also be able to stay connected with families using different social media outlets. We're going to hear about some of those in a bit. But you could do things like share your daily schedule or a daily video chat, maybe record a circle time and share that, or book readings, or maybe even send a message of a favorite toy or a favorite stuffed animal, sending the families messages just so you can keep connected with everybody.
I think those are really good suggestions, Casey. I'm going to pause for a hot minute though, because we've been plugging our mailbox, and I really appreciate you guys because you're sending us your good ideas already. We have a few to share. I tried to send some of those your way, Casey, so you can share these too with me. Please do keep these coming in. By the way, as I said, we have a really awesome group of staff working on this tonight, and they're making sure that they're responsive in that mailbox, so please do keep sharing. But just a couple of the ideas that people have just been sharing for ways you are all staying connected. I always say best practices. You guys know it. You're the experts. Please keep sharing with each other. A daily virtual learning hour. They say they're streaming it live on Facebook, and it's open to all this program's families. This program, again, Facebook created a group page for all the families, and they give them different updates. They also post different community resources. again, a very, in tune provider that's really making sure they're sharing the resources they hear about. They share learning materials, weekly robocalls with families. Again, just that quick way to stay updated to let them know you're there for them. You're still there. Parent email distribution list. That's something you and I have talked about before, Casey, is a good way to share and receive emails electronically.
Yeah,
This program, in fact, has 150 parents, but it's nice and quick, isn't it?
yeah, that's how my daughter's childcare is communicating with us. We get weekly emails, part of that distribution list.
And again, you're feeling connected. They care about you. Also, another program is doing Zoom sessions. This one on Wednesday. It's a good day, and it's open to all their children, their parents, their staff. I like that idea because the children are getting to make that contact. They're getting to see their providers. Just a quick mention though, because we've talked about this, when you're using social media platforms, make sure you have your privacy protections in place to keep children safe. So just had to put that in there. But Casey, I did share some others with you. Can you access those to talk about them?
I can, Trish. I have them right here. I see that one program has a nurse, and the nurse is recording daily physical fitness videos for the children and parents to do from home. That's really cool. I'd like to get on that kind of email because I know I'm struggling to find time for the exercise. Another program here has weekly virtual cooking lessons facilitated by the kitchen manager. That's another one I'd like to get in on.
Yeah, right.
I'm running out of recipes. Another program we have is mail and electronic delivery of learning packets for all the families, and they're doing this on a bi-weekly basis. So that's a great way to keep the academic stuff going. We've got another group here that's created Google Classrooms for all 18 of their pre-K and early Head Start classrooms. One here says their teachers are connecting with their students daily or weekly through Zoom, Seesaw, FaceTime, email, phone calls. Again, we want to remind you about those privacy protections, make sure those are in place. And then, we also wanted to point out, Trish, that OCFS issued a Dear Provider letter on May 5th. And that gave really great guidance and resources for ways to maintain connections with families and to support them during this time. This letter can be found on the OCFS website, and the OCFS contact information can be found in the handouts, and I know it will come up on a couple of slides as we go through tonight's training.
It actually does, and I'm glad you pointed that out because it's a great one-stop shop. So not only all the Dear Provider letters, but really all the most up-to-date guidance on COVID-19, which is really great for one-stop shopping for our early childhood educators who are looking to stay informed. So let's kind of shift our focus just a second for how this is affecting how you are caring for the young people in your care. We're going to start out with infants and toddlers. As I said before, social distancing with infants and toddlers is pretty much hard to do because they really depend on you to get their very basic needs in life met, and caring for them requires absolutely constant care and close attention. So how are you supposed to accomplish this with social distancing? Of course, we have some good guidelines to share. Let's start with diapering. What can we say? Keep doing the good work you are already doing because you're continuing to follow the diapering procedures that are listed right in your program's healthcare plan. So you're already doing good work. Keep that in mind first. The Centers for Disease Control, or CDC, obviously also has some recommendations right now. They would like you to actually post safe diaper changing procedures just as best practice in all of the areas in your program where diapers get changed. They actually have poster for this, a poster that we're mentioning right now. You're seeing it on your screen. It's called Safe and Healthy Diapering to Reduce the Spread of Germs. You can find that by going right to their website. I think it's a cool resource. Great practice just to have in there. What else about caring for our infants and toddlers during all this, Case?
We know, Trish, diapering time and feeding time, those are really times where providers bond with the children that they're caring for, and those bonds are a really important part of children's healthy social, emotional development. They need to develop those trusting relationships with the adults in their lives. And as we said, you do this by meeting their basic needs. You make sure they have the appropriate nutrition, they have time and space to sleep in a safe environment. You change their diapers and positively guide them on their toileting skills. And you engage with them in active play and opportunities to build a warm and positive relationship with you. Now, with all these activities, how can you protect yourself during these times with young children? So the CDC, again, has some recommendations. And when it comes to feeding and diapering, they recommend that you wear an over-large button-down long-sleeve shirt, that you wear your long hair up off the collar in a ponytail or an updo, that you wash your hands, neck, or any other place that has been touched by a child's secretions. Wash that with soap and water. And that you and the children in your care, you should have multiple changes of clothes on hand in the program in case you do get any secretions on your clothing, and you can change out of those immediately and put them and store them in a plastic bag that's kept up away from the children, out of their reach, or if you have the capability to put them in a washing machine and wash them right away, to do that. And then they also recommend that you wash your and the children's hands before and after feedings and diapering. And we mentioned that the CDC has that diapering poster. They also have hand washing posters on their website, and these are for children and teens, and you can find those by visiting the CDC's website. They're colorful and they're full of graphics, and they're really great tools for you to have to hang in your program.
And I like the fact that they're for different age ranges, because we know our providers care for different age ranges of kids. I think that's terrific. So we've been talking about cleaning and sanitizing, how we stay safe. Let's talk about how we clean and disinfect the toys and the materials used by the children in your care. You're going to keep following the procedures that you're already following in your healthcare plan. I keep saying this because you guys are already doing the good work. That I want to point out a specific appendix of that, though. It's Appendix E. That's cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. A great resource to go to just for a quick reminder. And also, here are some CDC guidelines just to kind of keep in mind. They're saying, the CDC, that you should really intensify your cleaning and sanitizing efforts. Again, you're already doing this great because of your healthcare plan, and I know you're already doing it even more now, but that's what the CDC does recommend. The CDC also says that toys and equipment that cannot be cleaned and sanitized, these are things like stuffed animals, you should not be using them right now. And again, that's just a safety precaution. It's just the good thing to do right now. Any toys that go in children's mouths, these really need to be set aside and then cleaned by someone that's wearing gloves, because again, this is all about transmission and preventing that. And speaking of preventing transmission, do not share toys between groups of children unless they have been washed and sanitized, again, by someone wearing gloves. We've gotten questions too, by the way, Casey and I looked into this. Books and paper-based products, these are not considered a high risk for transmission of COVID-19, and they do not need additional cleaning or disinfection procedures right now. So your books and your paper-based materials are going to be safe. You don't need extra efforts for that, which is good news, because I know everybody, Casey, is putting an extra effort on everything right now. In fact, let's hear about that. Let's go to some of you, and we're going to hear about how your cleaning and sanitizing and disinfecting procedures have changed because of all of this. And then after that, we're going to end that video piece with a really cool message. It's a message of hope and positivity. It's from Jim Hart, who's Director of Program Operations at OCFS. But like I say, first we're going to take a look at how your cleaning and sanitizing efforts have changed.
We just stepped it up a notch, and we're cleaning toys, cleaning classrooms, closing certain classrooms down so deep cleaning can take place, and more frequent rug washing and intense cleaning.
And it's a lot of sanitizing, right down to the pens that the parents are signing in and out with. You know, we have wipes and we're wiping them down between each drop off and pickup.
After each group is done leaving that area, they sanitize. One staff stays behind and cleans. So we do a really great job with cleaning and just, being aware of our surroundings.
We have weekend staff also that comes in and does some deep cleaning as well. So, and our teachers are troopers. They're constantly cleaning, constantly.
Hi, I'm Jim Hart, Director of Program Operations at the Division of Child Care Services. I want to start out by saying thank you. Thank you for providing essential child care services to the children and families of New York State during these challenging and unprecedented times. Your commitment and dedication to the families you serve is recognized and appreciated. We are grateful for all that you do, and happy Provider Appreciation Day.
Our thanks to Jim Hart. That was really great for him to take the time to talk to us. It was really, really fantastic. But Casey, we heard about an unprecedented time and having to change things up there, didn't we?
We did, Trish, and that means changes to our drop-off and our pickup times. And as we all know, those can be some of the most hectic times of the day, especially if, several families are arriving at the same time. And social distancing has many of us changing the way we are conducting our drop-offs and our pickups. So we went back to our child care providers to hear about how they are making changes in these procedures and how they've adapted. And then we're going to hear a message of hope from Tracy Turner, the Director of Regional Operations for the Division of Child Care Services. So drop-off and pickup adaptations.
Our program looks different. I mean, it has to look different because of things that have changed. So there's a lot of things that we've had to rethink and the way that we're going to redo things. At the place that we're currently working, there's a vestibule. So with our staff, we're able to kind of have parents sign in and out in the vestibule, limit the number of people that are coming into the program.
So right at drop off, every morning we have a staff that goes out, does the daily health screen, takes the child's temperature, and then they come in and they're directed to go wash their hands.
So when this first started, we had parents were always able to come in using a key fob, and then they would go into the rooms, their classrooms, different wings, get their child and leave. Then we went to the parents coming into the lobby. Then the teachers, we would buzz, or we would retrieve the children, bring them to the lobby, and then they would leave. But then that started, parents were arriving, around the same time, so that became a little, just not safe distancing. Now we have we now bring the children, they're in their classrooms. We are fortunate enough where the classrooms have doors leading to the outdoors. So the parents go right to that door marked with a cone, because there's different classrooms that are open and some classrooms that are not. So all the parents at first were like, this is going to be a hardship because we have a child on the left wing and we have a child on the right wing. But they adapted, and that's been working out nicely. In fact, the teachers are like, can we do this all the time?
Hello, I'm Tracy Turner, Director of Regional Operations, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you all for what you do each and every day for the children and families in New York State. Although the sentiment doesn't seem worthy of the work you do day in and day out, even during a global pandemic, you need to know how much we appreciate you. And make no mistake, you are frontline workers caring for our most precious gifts so that parents can go to work and save lives. And the photos and stories that you share with your regulator serve as daily inspiration to all of us. We are here to support you in any way that we can. We're in this together, and we will get through this and emerge stronger. So please be well and keep smiling.
And our thanks, I know Casey shares that with me. Thank you to Tracy Turner. That really was such a positive message. Be well and keep smiling. I think those are really great things to share, and I hope everyone is feeling good and supported at this point. We did hear some changes, I think, Case, about how people are kind of adapting their drop-off and pickup strategies. The CDC, I want to mention, has some recommendations for us as well, specific to drop-off and pickup. Much like OCFS is suggesting, consider staggering the arrival and pickup times. Maybe meet your families outside of the building so you can be the ones to escort the children in and out of the program to really reduce that adult transmission into the program. You want to set up hand hygiene stations at the entrance of your program, so hands can be really cleaned as people enter. If you may not have a sink with running water right there, you want to make sure you have hand sanitizer next to your parent sign-in sheets and that parent area everybody has. Don't forget too, the materials parents are touching. That means you want to have sanitary wipes on hand so people can clean the pen between uses. And ideally, you want to have the same designated parent or caregiver doing the drop-off and the pickup with that child every day. That's an ideal situation because it really is all about preventing that spread of that transmission of anything, not just COVID-19, right, Casey?
That's right, Trish, anything. And now during those drop-off times in the morning or whenever the child arrives, really, you're used to doing daily health checks. We're already used to doing those when, the children arrive, and we're doing those on awake children as they arrive at the program. So there are additional screening procedures, but these should just be a continuation of the great work you're already doing with your daily health checks. So keep doing those daily health checks as you always do, but now add these few protocols when screening children and staff as they arrive. Now, the New York State Department of Health states that persons, staff, or children who have a fever of 100 or above, or show any signs of lower respiratory illness, such as a cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, or a sore throat, they should not be permitted to the program. Now, you may have heard other temperature guidelines, but 100 is the number that has been issued by the New York State Department of Health. So 100 is the number to follow during the COVID-19 emergency. And now you can take temperatures yourself. Just make sure you're following proper safety procedures of hand washing before you take the temperature, using gloves and face masks while you're taking the temperature, and cleaning the thermometer between each use. And remember, those gloves that you're using, you got to make sure that you're changing them between each use with each child. So for every child that you're giving that temperature to, you're going to put on a new set of gloves.
Good suggestion.
Thank you. Now, we've covered a lot of guidelines with the CDC has recommended here today. So if you're looking for any more information on any of these CDC guidelines for childcare programs, be sure to visit their website. You can see it up on your screen. You just go to the cdc.gov and you can search coronavirus or search guidance for childcare, and you can find all of these recommendations that we've been talking about so far.
They are great recommendations, and I think the good news too is, Casey, that folks are already doing good work because they're following their healthcare plans and they're following the procedures that we know work already. There's lots of good information out there. I think hopefully folks are having the information, having access to it as they need it. I'm going to suggest now, though, that we kind of shift our conversation away from the guidelines and the how we're doing things, and kind of talk about and just get some awareness of the signs of stress, because obviously that is a really, really big deal for all of us these days, not only in our personal and professional lives, but for the children that we work with too. But when we talk about stress, Casey and I always try to start by laughing. And I think a good way to do this is to start with a message of hope. And the one we're about to share comes from a lady named Maria, who's a really wonderful person. She's a registration supervisor, and she was kind enough to offer this message to us both in Spanish and in English. So my thanks to Maria personally, and let's listen into her message of hope.
Queremos dar las gracias a todas nuestras proveedoras y proveedores. Ustedes son importantes para nuestra ciudad y para nuestro mundo por la labor que hacen. Ustedes cuidan, guían y protegen a nuestros niños y niñas. Y en momentos de crisis como este, nunca dicen no. Muchísimas gracias por el apoyo que dan a nuestra ciudad. Apreciamos todos sus esfuerzos. We want to take a moment to express our gratitude for our providers. You are so important to our city and to our world for the work you do. You care, guide, and protect our children. And in a time of crisis like this, you never say no. Thank you very much for the support you give to our city. We appreciate all your effort.
And we really, really appreciated Maria's time because, again, you know, when you think about the things she just told us, you know, she talked about the people that are really keeping cities and towns and places going right now. You know, all of us are trying so hard to just be that normalcy that you always are in the lives of children, and that can't be overstated. I think the importance of that job you do. So our thanks to Maria. Casey, she mentioned uncertain times, right? Uncertain things. And I think that's the bottom line these days for all of us. We're constantly in that state of flux, that state of things changing, any kind of predictable routine, the people and places in our lives, they've all been taken away from us. Life as we all knew it, let's be honest, before March, does not exist right now. Our existence has completely changed. And when you just kind of sit back for a second and let that sink in, kind of think about that, life has changed. That is super upsetting to adults. I mean, we can have a hard time processing that, but how do you think that makes young children feel, and how in the world are they processing it all? The answer is that you are helping them, but they are feeling the pressure. But Casey, we were able to, and in fact, you set a lot of this up. We talked to a lot of these experts in the field, and we got a lot of great suggestions and information.
We sure did, Trish, and we did speak to quite a few experts in the fields of mental health, trauma, and resilience, and we, picked their brains and got their thoughts, giving us some suggestions for what we can do to help in these uncertain times. And we just want to take a minute quickly here to kind of introduce everybody to those experts that we did speak to and we'll be hearing from throughout the rest of the training. One person we spoke to was Barbara Kaiser. She's the co-author of Challenging Behavior in Young Children. And she's been working in the field for many, many years as a director, a speaker, and a trainer. We also had the opportunity to speak with Joanne Trinkle, who is a social worker by training, and she's been in children's mental health and child welfare program development and program management for many years. Tim Hathaway also sat down with us, and he's the executive director with Prevent Child Abuse New York, which is a not-for-profit organization working statewide doing a variety of things around prevention. And we also spoke with Dr. Nefertiti Pointer, who is an early childhood specialist and national trainer with the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children. And we're going to be hearing from them coming up, but we just wanted to kind of introduce everybody to them quickly.
We do have a series of videos that offer really great information, so thanks for taking a minute to just introduce everyone, Case. I want to start, though, with sort of a frame for everything we're about to hear from our experts, and that is a definition. The National Child Traumatic Stress Network, or NCTSN, you should Google them, it's a really great website. They actually define traumatic event as a frightening, dangerous, or violent event that poses a threat to a child's life or bodily integrity. That's pretty deep, isn't it? And it's also a pretty accurate description, I think, right now for what each and every one of us is experiencing to some degree at this time. Traumatic events are stressful. I accept that as truth. I bet we all accept that as truth. However, have you really stopped to think about what that is like? Our experts have, and there are different levels of stress. We're going to go to Barbara Kaiser now to hear some more information about the different levels of stress. Let's listen in.
Not every experience is felt as stressful by everyone. We all have a different way of reacting to events in our lives. And often people are saying, well, the COVID-19 pandemic is not that serious and, you know, we're making too big a deal out of it. But for some people, this is an extremely stressful event. And the difference between stress is some stress you can cope with. And that stress is kind of healthy stress. There's also tolerable stress, which when you have someone who can support you and be there for you, you can also cope with it, and children can cope with it. But toxic stress and trauma is when the adults are kind of not there for the kids, when they're dealing maybe with their own stress, which is truly what I think is happening today. And so for many children, without realizing it, the COVID-19 pandemic is providing opportunities for a lot of trauma for young children.
That's pretty deep, Casey. COVID-19 is providing a lot of opportunities for trauma in young children. That really shows us what an important job our early childhood educators are doing right now.
It sure does, Trish. And I just wanted to go back for a second. You had mentioned the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, or NCTSN, and you suggested people Google that. And I just wanted to point out that there are links to a couple of articles from the NCTSN right in the handouts, as well as the contact information. So if you're looking for more information, maybe to read more about their definition or to find out what else, they have a lot of great resources on their website. So those that information can be found right in the handouts. Now, as you were saying, Barbara Kaiser, she was talking about those different levels of stress, and with different levels of stress and with different children being different ages and having different experiences, you know, adults, children, we all react to stress differently. So we were wondering, you know, what are some things that children need from us to help them during times of stress? And so we asked that question of our experts, and they gave us some advice and some guidance. And so we're going to hear that, and then we're going to hear a message of hope, another message of hope. And this one is going to come from Tina Cook, who is the Syracuse Regional Office Manager.
Regardless of a child's age and whether or not you are a parent at home or a child care educator at a center operating as an emergency site for essential workers, what children need now is to feel safe. And so we have to really remember that the most important thing is that children feel they have an adult present in their life who can provide the understanding and support they need to cope with their circumstances.
And when we think about safety, we have to think about it not so much just as in physical safety, because for children, it's not just whether they're in danger that's the problem, it's whether they think they're in danger that causes the problem. It's the same reaction, whether or not something's actually happening to them. If they're worried about something, that has an impact as well. So there's that mental and physical and emotional kind of need for safety.
Children need consistency and caring from the adults around them. And so things like trying to keep the schedules as consistent as we can. Things like smiles and hugs and reassurance that you're safe are just some of the things that children need when dealing with stress.
We also need, on the emotional end of that, we need to be able to reconnect with people in a way that affirms that I'm whole, I'm intact, I'm okay, and the people that I care about are okay and all right as well.
You need to remember that FAIR isn't about giving every child the same thing. It's about giving children what they need. And in this case, every child is going to need something a little bit different. Allow a lot of time for free play, especially dramatic play, because that's how children are going to work through their feelings.
Hi, my name is Tina Cook. I'm the Regional Manager for the Division of Child Care Services at the Syracuse Regional Office. And I am so honored to be able to say thank you to all of the child care providers for all the work that you do to make sure that our children have safe, quality care. I so appreciate all the work that you do. I appreciate how you continue to work even during this time of our pandemic. I just want to let you know that we appreciate you and we're here for you. We'd like you to know that you can continue to reach out to your licensor, to our regional office, and to the CCR&R for anything that you need, and we'll do our best to provide that for you. I just want to say that as a parent, a mother of 6 and a grandmother of 6, I know how important it is to be able to take my children to daycare and to be able to leave them there and go to work and do what I need to do. But it's because of you, daycare providers. So I appreciate you, I thank you. And I used to say that my daycare providers were angels sent just for me. So I appreciate you, all of you angels out there, for the great work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
That was incredibly positive, wasn't it, Casey? Angels.
I love that. I really love that. Every time I hear it, it makes me smile.
Well, our thanks to Tina Cook and all the Syracuse Regional Office staff who's working so hard right now.
Yeah, as all the regional offices are. Everybody's working hard right now. So yes, thank you, Tina. You know, Trish, so we just heard that, you know, we need to give children what they need. We need to, you know, connect with the children and really, you know, stay in touch with them and, you know, listen to them and figure out what they need. And so now that we've heard some of the ways that we can, you know, get children what they need, what can we do with that? How can we help? So, you know, one thing that we can do is we can work on resilience. Now, resilience, that's an important tool to have and to use, especially when it comes to working through times of stress. And so we asked our experts, you know, what is resilience? What does that mean to you? And how can we build it? So we're going to start off with learning what resilience is from our experts, and then we're going to hear another message of hope. This one comes from the Associate Commissioner for the Division of Child Care Services, Jamie Frank.
It's extremely important right now that we all tap into our ability to be resilient and also help our children develop their resilience. And resilience is the ability to bounce back from a terrible event and see it as an opportunity to learn new skills.
Resilience is the human being capability of withstanding stress. How much can we take?
It's the ability or the capacity to manage strong feelings and maintain a sense of well-being, even when you feel the world just is a scary place to be.
Being able to come back to equilibrium and regain that sense of it's going to be okay and I'm all right.
It is the process of bouncing back from unhealthy, difficult, challenging situations. And both children and adults can learn the process of becoming more resilient.
It's not something you have or you don't. It's something that you can build.
I like to use a rubber band as an example. Rubber bands can be stretched and pulled upon, but they also bounce back. Sometimes rubber bands are frail and do not have so much buoyancy. And what happens when you pull on them too much? They pop. And so resilience is the process of giving that rubber band some bounce back ability. That's how I like to think of resilience.
Hi, I'm Jamie Frank. I'm the Associate Commissioner for the Division of Child Care Services. I have a 2-year-old, and I know that I'm only able to be successful at my work because I can count on reliable, high-quality childcare where I know my child is safe, cared for, and loved every day. I am so thankful for my child and all of our childcare providers. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the art projects, the walks to the library, the hugs, the songs, the head, shoulders, knees, and toes. This pandemic has raised up what you all know and what all working parents have known for a long time. For the first time now, society is seeing how vital your services truly are. The world that we come back to may look different, but one thing I'm sure of is that it's your creativity, resiliency, your read aloud and dance parties that are a comfort to our children during this scary time and will be a safe touchstone for our recovering world. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you, and we can't wait to be back together soon.
Our thanks to Jamie Frank, and my apologies. You guys all heard me coughing up my Astelin. I think all of you who are on allergy meds with me will sort of understand the fun that is, but I do apologize. I'm going to be a lot more careful with my mute button from now on, Casey. You talked to us about resilience. Talk to us about what those mean for recovery. What is that all about?
Yeah, Jamie, during her message, she talks about creativity and resiliency as touchstones for our recovery. So that really resonated with me, and I thought that was great. Um, so, as we just heard, building resilience, it's a process, and it's one that can be learned. But how do we do that? I had no idea. So we asked the experts, and they told us some ways that we can build our own resilience, and then they gave us some advice for ways we can help children build their resilience. So we're going to start out by hearing about some of the ways that we can build our own resilience, and then Pat Harper, the Buffalo Regional Office Manager, is going to give us another message of hope.
When we think about ourselves as adults and our capability to withstand stress and pressure and our own resilience, the most important thing for us to do is try to find ways to become self-aware, whether or not that means, as you were growing up, is this language that your family used about reflecting to you what it looks like when you're stressed out, or reflecting to you like, are you okay? You don't seem okay today. Kind of taking those cues and trying to figure out, where is my edge? How do I know when I'm not okay? And then how do I intervene with myself early in that kind of process, or that dial up of going from I'm a little bit stressed to like I can't take it kind of thing.
And it often helps to develop something called positive self-talk. Remind yourself daily that this is temporary and accept that change is part of living. Help others. It often helps us build our own resilience when we can be there for others. Find the lesson in all of this. What are we learning? How has the world changed in a positive way? And what have we learned about ourselves and each other throughout this experience? Avoid seeing crises as unsurmountable problems. Try and stick to a routine if you can.
The resilience literature says in order to be resilient, you and I have to mitigate our risk factors a little bit with our protective factors. I like to think of risk factors as rain, and the protective factors are what help mitigate some of the risk factors. Doesn't make them go away, but again, it helps mitigate a little bit. And I like to say, your protective factors, our protective factors, there are umbrellas. So imagine you're in a rainstorm. It's coming down on you in a mighty way. Your protective factors are your umbrellas. And so what do you have as your protective factors? Well, the research makes it very clear. Friends, family, protective factors. That woman may not just be your mom, but she's your protective factor. Your partner may not just be your partner, they're also your protective factor. And when you're dealing with tough moments, you need your protective factors.
Hi, I'm Pat Harper. Childcare workers, you have always been essential, and it is all the more apparent now. It takes courage to be on the front line. Maya Angelou said, we should try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. And you are doing just that by making sure that those who must work have childcare. These are frightening times. You know, when I was a child, my favorite hero was Superman. Christopher Reeve said, a hero is an ordinary person who finds strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming circumstances. Please know that you are admired and appreciated, and that these days, you and all of the essential workers out there are the real life superheroes.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You knew I was going to sing that.
I did. Yeah.
It's your favorite song. I mean, that means a lot to you, but talk to me about what that means to you about resilience, Case.
Well, I just want to thank Pat for that message, because it got me while we were talking to her, and it gets me every time I see it, because as far as resiliency goes, it takes me back to my childhood. You are my sunshine. It was a song that growing up, sitting around the campfire, my grandfather, he used to take out his washboard and he used to play his washboard and he used to sing it, and it was at the top of his lungs. And those are some of the best memories I have of my childhood. So, when I get a little bit stressed out or I start to, feel the pressure, I go back and I say to myself, you are my sunshine. And I can hear him playing it, and one of the neighbors, he would play the spoons and you can just hear him going ting a ting, ting a ting, and so it really takes me back, and it causes me that moment to pause and really just take a breath and relax and then start fresh. So thank you, Pat, for that message. I really
Because that's
appreciate that.
resilience. That's
It is.
resilience.
It is. And so that's how we build our own resilience. But as I said earlier, the experts also talk to us a little bit about how we can help children build their resilience. So we're going to go to them now, and we're going to hear about some ways that we can help children build their resilience.
One of the things I think is most important is to know your children. You have to be in tune to know your children. And when I say, you say, yeah, of course I know my children, but we have to be able to look at them and understand a little bit about when they're feeling sad or confused or overwhelmed.
You don't have a black kitty like I do.
It's listening, it's observing, it's being patient, it's being really mindful of my own responses and reactions, so that I'm opening doors rather than closing doors for kids.
Building upon their strengths, even when that strength is one that gets on our nerves, and being able to honor all feelings and understanding that all behavior has a feeling.
Yeah, I'll do it like that. Yeah, that's it.
So you can help a child build their resilience. So find ways to spend time with them, and for them not only to connect with you, but also with their peers. Focus on their strengths and interests so they build a sense of self-efficacy. What are they good at? And how does that make them feel? Children need to know that there's an adult in their life who believes in them and who loves them unconditionally, which is maybe a little bit hard right now if you're in a cooped up circumstance, but remember how important that is. And build a sense of physical safety and emotional security within your home and in your classroom, especially for those children who are attending childcare now, whose parents are dealing with a lot of issues that might make it very stressful for them and hard for them to respond the way they'd like to with their children right now. Allow the expression of all emotions so the kids can feel comfortable reaching out during these difficult times. And probably the most important thing that we as adults in children's lives can do, whether you're an early childhood educator or a parent or a grandparent, is to model positive coping strategies as a consistent basis. Let them know that you can deal with it, and it will help them to deal with it too and build their resilience. And another important piece is to offer choices and trust their decisions, allowing them to have a sense of self-control over their lives. And sometimes you might feel, well, maybe I shouldn't let him do that. But by giving him the power, empowering the child to feel that, hey, I have some control, will help them to build their resilience.
You did it? High five.
Really good suggestions for building resilience, huh, Case?
I was going to say, Trish, that was really one of my favorite parts of speaking to the experts because, I'm home with my 12-year-old and we are homeschooling. And so to hear that stuff from the experts, it was really helpful to me because, I could apply that to my own life. And, one of the things that Tim Hathaway said that really resonated with me was that we have to be mindful of our responses and our reactions. And we have to do that even when it comes to media that we're hearing and we're seeing, because right now you can't turn on the radio or the television or even go onto the internet without being bombarded with information about COVID-19. And I constantly find myself asking myself, is that true? Is that fiction? What is
We talk about that.
we do a lot because, I struggle with that sometimes. And, I also struggle with the fact that things are changing so rapidly that it's really hard to keep up. So, not only am I confused with these messages, but, our children are hearing these messages as well. So if it's hard for me to figure it out, I know that my daughter and all the other children have to be struggling with that sort of stuff too. So, I had to remind myself that it's really important to communicate with my daughter in a way that's appropriate for her and for her developmental level, and we need to do that with all of the children. So this was a question that I asked the experts really so I could figure it out. I know my daughter is always asking me questions and struggling with trying to figure it all out, so I asked them, what is it? How do we do this? How can we communicate with the children so that they understand, what's going on? What are some tips for us? So we're going to hear those, and then we're going to hear another message of hope, and this one comes to us from Linda Dara from the Regional Office Support Unit with the Division of Child Care Services.
When we think about how we're communicating with children about events that we as adults have a hard time making sense of also, we have to figure out what's the right language to use.
I think opening a door to let kids talk, or to let kids not talk, but to let them know that I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, is a great place to start. So I think you can't go wrong with saying to kids, hey, this is a crazy moment. This is a difficult experience. I'm struggling. Tell me what's happening for you. Tell me if there's anything that you want to talk about.
The other thing that we need to remember is that not to be afraid to talk about what's happening, but to be developmentally appropriate. Don't discount their fears when they bring them to you. When they have questions, the place to begin is to ask them what they know, what their worries are, and what they want to know from you before you answer. So you are really starting where they're at and not overwhelming them with maybe information they're not ready to hear or don't feel they need to hear. But it's very important to be honest and always reassure them that they're safe and you're going to take care of them.
One of the ways we can talk to children about traumatic events is, again, knowing who our children are as people. So, for example, you have a little one who has some fears of just basic things. You don't want to inundate that little one with too much because it can jeopardize their sleep patterns, it can jeopardize their eating habits. And so going from the standpoint of knowing your children,
try to talk in terms where that person who they're developing to be as a human being with their likes and their tendencies, try to pull that in.
Another important thing when responding to kids of any age is use black and white statements. Don't leave any room for doubt. Let them know you're looking out for them and things will inevitably return to normal, but it might take time. Children are also extremely aware of nonverbal communication. So make sure that what you say is consistent with how you're saying it, your body language, your facial expression, your tone of voice. And don't be afraid to tell your child that you're anxious too. Normalize their worries by helping them know it's okay and healthy to worry a little.
There are different things that we can do to intervene so that positive is coming in through this. So it balances the message. So it's not all scary and gloom and doom, but that, yes, it is, absolutely. It's real. Let's not pretend it's not real, but we have things we can do and we'll be okay. So it's sort of this kind of ebb and flow because you don't want to make light of it, but you also don't want to talk to kids too much in such a way where it scares them more.
So I would say to children who are wondering, when is this going to end? You know what? The reality is we're just not sure yet. But you know what we are sure of? That we have each other today. And there are some things that we can do today to make this the best day that we can. And parents and professionals, what we have to also recognize is this is new and uncharted territory for all of us. There is no book, there is no PowerPoint or webinar we can attend to make this all just go away or have an immediate understanding. What we want to try to do is take control where we can.
And when the children return to your classroom, if you are an early childhood educator, let them tell you about their experience. What did they do? What was the favorite thing they did? Find times throughout the day to talk with them about how they're feeling and answer any questions they have. Adjust your expectations. Allow for outbursts and separation issues, and provide as much free play and open-ended activities as possible. And keep that dramatic play area open, because this is where the kids are going to work out their feelings and concerns and what they went through with each other about over this present issue.
You are heroes providing care to the children and families of New York. We are New York strong because of you.
Well, first, I want to thank Linda Dara for providing that awesome message of hope. We keep hearing this word hero, Case.
We
I
do.
know a lot of families see folks that way, right?
They do, and we are New York strong because of all the child care providers. So thank you, Linda, for that message. And you're right, Trish, families, see us as valuable resources. And, when it comes to communication and many other things surrounding COVID-19, parents may be coming to you and asking you for your advice on how they can communicate with their children. Signs maybe they're seeing in their children. What can we do about that? So it's important to really remember that even the youngest children in our care and in our lives pick up on what we say as well as what they hear and see on different media sources. And I know our experts talked about how we have to, watch what we're saying and how we're saying it and make sure we're really modeling strategies and communication things. So it's really important to be mindful of our conversations and, to really limit the amount of media that the children are exposed to. So we talked with our experts about communication tips that we may be able to pass on to the families if they should come to us looking for advice on how to communicate with their children. So let's hear some of that advice.
Most of what our little ones need to understand right now is about safety. It's about safety. It's a very complex word, coronavirus and COVID-19. And our 3-year-olds don't necessarily need to know that word. What they do need to understand is why things have changed and why things look different. And I'd like to suggest that we take all of our rules back to safety. Daddy, why can't I go down the street and play with Joshua? Well, right now in our world, things are just not safe. And Daddy's responsibility is to keep you safe. And so for right now, I would like to ask that you just stay closer to home with me, because that way I can make sure you're safe. Now, maybe in a few days or a few weeks, things will be different. But today, Daddy's job is to keep you safe. And I would like to keep you safe by having you home with me. Where can we play? What book can you read? Can you play hide and go seek with me? Something along those lines.
But I would say that the underlying strategy that I would encourage people to use is sort of just trust your gut, be yourself. Don't try to turn into somebody else. Nothing's worse than like a dad who's typically like dad jokes and goofy turning into somebody who tries to be more, like a therapy conversation, right? So part of it is using your own personality, be yourself, be who you've always been in relationship with the children that you know.
So a word of encouragement to parents and the caregivers out there. You don't have to be perfect. Your kids do not need perfect. They need you and they need relationship with you. They don't need perfect from you. You're not going to get it all right, and that's okay. That's just fine. But stay in relationship with your kids and with the kids that you're caring for.
I think that's pretty good advice from Tim Hathaway, don't you, Case? Stay in that relationship. You may be the most stable relationship in that child's life.
Excellent advice. Yeah, I know. I really took that to heart when he had said that, because I know, homeschooling, working from home, it's it's a lot of pressure. And so, my daughter and I, we were going through a lot of ups and downs, and I just kept having to tell myself, neither one of us, and I kept telling her, we don't have to be perfect. We just have to, make sure we're talking and, talking about how this was a matter of keeping people safe really helped her understand, I think, a lot of what we're going through. Like, we can't go out to the stores right now because it's just not safe. And that, I think, really helped her understand. So those two messages of safety, and we don't have to be perfect, they're ones that I've held close to my heart since I heard them, and I'm really using them to help me get through this.
There is another thing that came into the mailbox actually while these videos were playing about communication that I do want to share just real quickly. It is again, please do continue to share these awesome ideas through the mailbox. By the way, ECETP at albany.edu. If we can't share your idea tonight, or if you have a question and we can't get back to you tonight, someone will get back to you within the next day or so. Please do be patient. But one thing I did want to share really quickly is a neat series of coloring books. When we're talking about communication and how to talk with kids, things to offer parents, this is neat. It's a series of coloring books called Trinka and Sam Fighting the Big Virus. Trinka, Sam, and Littletown work together. It's developed apparently to help young children and their families kind of start talking about their experiences and feelings related to COVID-19 and just sort of everything we're going to, a way to start these conversations that Casey and all our experts have been talking about. The book and these other resources, by the way, can be found if you Google Piplo Productions, Piplo Productions.com. Just Google them, check it out on the internet, Trinka and Sam series. I thought it was a neat resource, Case.
Yeah, I liked it too. I checked it out, and it is a series called the Trinka and Sam series, and this is just one of the books that's part of that series, the Trinka and Sam Fighting the Big Virus, Trinka, Sam, and Littletown Work Together. It's a coloring book. You can read it. The children can color in the pages, and it also comes with, I believe there's posters, I believe there's a parent guide, or a teacher guide, some kind of guide to help you along as you're reading the book. So it really was, I happened to stumble across it the other day, and I'm glad that someone else mentioned it here tonight, because it really was a great resource.
So you're holding out on me, basically. Well, I'm glad someone wrote into the mailbox. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing these ideas, and Casey for telling us more about that. Can we talk, though, about more hope, Casey? Let's share more messages if we can. I always want to keep this hopeful.
Yeah, we sure can, Trish. We actually got Jose, Borough Director. He actually sent us a message of hope that he had written, so we'd like to share that with you now. And his message said, COVID-19 has changed our way of lives. You are teachers, psychologists, medics, and the world to many of the children you serve. You all do an amazing job in teaching, caring for, maintaining, feeding, and providing a safe place for the children you care for. This new norm comes with its challenges. You are appreciated. Continue to be safe. So we wanted to thank Jose for that message.
That was really sweet. And one thing he mentioned, Case, is this idea of a new norm, right? This new normal that we're all kind of, like you say, you're trying to figure out with your own daughter. And I know we talk about your family and how you're trying to make sense of all this. It's new schedules, new routines. It's completely different, new guidelines that you guys have to follow when you're trying to explain this all to your daughter. And really, when you think about it, and like you said earlier, sometimes things are changing by the minute and you don't even know what to think anymore. And as everybody listening tonight knows, children seek these consistent, predictable routines, which is nothing like we have right now. Kids need consistency, predictability, time to exercise, time to play. So how can we still do that during these times? What are some activities that our providers in the audience can do with children? We got some ideas from our experts because Casey was smart enough to ask them. And also we heard from providers in here and a regulator, David Harvey Bowen, who's a good friend of ours now and just talked to us about everything that's going on. And he's followed by Long Island Regional Manager, Robin Beller, who gave us a really nice message of hope and inspiration. So let's hear first about some new activities, and then we'll continue on.
What do you like to do? Do you like to bake? Bake with your kids. Go for walks in isolated areas. Maybe you can have a scavenger hunt. let's look for how many rocks we can find, or let's look for how many red cars we can find, depending on where you live. Make signs for your neighbors when you walk by their house saying hello. Draw, paint. If you live in the country or a place where you can, fly a kite together, read together, do puzzles.
I had mentioned murals on sidewalks. I'm seeing a lot of those in the neighborhoods around me, where different kids will go outside at different times and add to the mural, which is kind of cool because there's this whole physical distance kind of idea around it, but then you can see the full picture come together, where together we kind of created this thing, even though we're being separated by this space right now.
I feel like right now more than ever, it's like people are really coming together, working together. It's amazing to see every day that a center opens their doors. It brings the consistency, and it brings the love to the children, and it helps with allowing the essential workers to serve the community. So it all ties hand in hand.
We have I don't want to say, I guess 55 and over retirement community apartment complex next door. So the kids have been making a lot of different posters and, just keeping them happy and kind of taking walks over and slipping different things under the door, different cards, and just, we're thinking of you, and they wave through the windows. So that's been nice too.
I know of centers that aren't open that are still communicating with their family, that are still, they have Facebook pages, that they have daily reading activities. I have, there's a center, E-Bureau, to be exact. They have every week, or every day, a classroom is assigned to post an activity for the children. I mean, they're actually going out and communicating with the families on a weekly basis, So
we bake, we implement our activities, experiment with different STEM activities on a regular basis.
So I oversee school-age programs, and a lot of the school-age programs during this time have been doing several things. I have programs that actually do arts and crafts hours, where they go onto Facebook and they host arts and crafts hours or science activities. They do exercises. They provide lunches, snacks, dinner for these families in need, because they're not in school, so they're not getting these meals. And it's pretty amazing what they're doing with what they have to help support the community and help support the children.
One important thing at home and in childcare too is set up a cozy retreat if you don't already have one. A place where when they're feeling a little overwhelmed, they can go to. Older kids might go to their rooms, but little guys might want to just have a little section where they can get on a soft pillow and find a comfy little way to sit, and a little stuffy that makes them feel secure.
But if we can get back to thinking about what does this child need, what's the appropriate response to that, then it becomes, I don't have to do the stuff with Play-Doh. The child is going to do what they need to with that material.
But what I want you to remember is that there is so many ordinary things that you're already doing that can be wonderful.
Hi, I'm Robin Beller from the Long Island Regional Office. I wanted to take this opportunity to let you know our entire team of supervisors, licensors, registrars, and fire safety staff are here to support you through this challenging time. We are grateful to you and your staff for your extraordinary dedication for children and their families. This challenge is big, and together we are bigger than it. We will get through this. Childcare has always been important to keep New York working, and now more than ever, you are helping to keep New York alive. But please, stay safe, stay healthy, and know how important you are. Thank you.
And thank you, Robin Beller, for that message of hope that she just gave us. It was really, really moving to me because we are focusing on how we can help folks. Case, those were some awesome ideas that we just saw in that video, and I want to point out that that was quite an awesome fort because I happen to know just whose house that picture came from. I also know that you have some really awesome ideas that you want to share. Thank you to everyone that has been emailing the mailbox. Please do keep that coming. We have awesome folks on hand, our own colleagues and teammates who are responding to you tonight, and we're lucky enough to be able to share some of these. What do you have for us, Case?
Well, I was just going to say, you already mentioned the fort. That was something that my daughter built. She just came to me one day and said, "Hey, Mom, can we build a fort?" And I was like, "Sure." And then we used it as like a little drive-in movie theater. We pop popcorn and watch movies in there. Another thing that I know that's working for us is that she's on a swim team. So our swim team is sending virtual exercises because the children can't get into the pool now, so they're doing dry land activities, so we're getting all that kind of stuff. And I think you've got a couple of things from the mailbox that we're going to share. So.
Well, yes, absolutely. In fact, I know that a couple of programs, so what they mentioned was the social distancing, and this is how they're dealing with it. Bi-weekly parking lot parades. How cool is that? Like, that's so creative. Virtual pre-K prom. This was in response to how we said earlier, a lot of people are, having to postpone and cancel things. This program is saying really consider some virtual options. They're doing their pre-K annual kind of prom virtually. I think that's so creative. It's going to be done at the end of May. So you guys are really already thinking ahead. Graduations, these are 2 programs, I think. One is in June. Yeah, so you're still having that. You're still acknowledging the children, because I think that's the important part, right, Case? Keeping that nurturing relationship going.
Yeah, and I also think that those, couple of ideas there, the pre-K, the virtual graduation and the virtual prom, those are traditions that families and children, they look forward to. So I think those are really great ways using social distancing to really let children and families experience those important life milestones in a safe way so that they'll always have those memories to be able to look back on. It might be a little different if they had, say, an older child who went through the program and had the non-social distancing version of that graduation, but it's a memory that they can have, and they can compare the 2 things. So I think such creative ideas and really great ways to let children really have those memories with their families of the experiences that they're having when they reach
So thank you.
milestones.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those, everybody.
Absolutely, and keep them coming, because we really love to hear those and we love to share those. So as we've been talking, we've been communicating with the children appropriately, following those new schedules, providing the stability and engaging in fun activities to keep the children's minds and bodies active. But sometimes, no matter what we do, children will feel stress. I know no matter what I do, I'm still sometimes feeling the stress. Trish, I don't know about you.
Our coworkers have been trying real hard to keep us calm all day, and we're still getting stressed, so everybody's feeling it.
Sometimes, no matter what you do, it just happens. So we asked the experts about this. What are some signs that we can look for in children that we're close to that may indicate that they're feeling the pressure and may need a little bit extra help? So let's hear what the experts had to say about signs to look for.
Kids that are dealing with a lot of traumatic stress are going to be off a little bit, right? So their typical responses are going to be a little bit different, and some kids that's going to be a great big difference, and other kids it's going to be a smaller difference. But I think any time that we see a change in a child's behavior, there should be a little flag that goes up in our head that says, pay close attention, because that's a signal that something is different for that child, that they're feeling stress, that they're feeling something different, so they're acting in a different way. All behavior is caused, so they're feeling that and they're reacting in a different way, they're behaving in a different way.
For you as an adult, when you're watching children that you know and that you have a relationship with, you're looking for anything in them that might seem just a little off. The more time we spend with children, the more we get to know kind of what normal in a room with them feels like. And if that normal in a room feels different, then we start to pay attention and think, oh, wait a minute, this isn't okay. I think they're either tired, they're not feeling well, or they're starting to feel some stress and anxiety, and we need to kind of do something about that.
When our children are very small, they won't be able to say, I'm anxious or nervous or stressed. But what they might say is, my belly hurts, or I have a headache. And as they get older, they may like to spend a lot of time by themselves. They seem very monotone in their disposition.
When children are struggling with stress or trauma, you'll notice if your center is open that their behavior has changed. If their parents are working through this crisis, they're exhausted, stressed, and their children are probably more needy than ever. Their coping mechanisms may look like tantrums, being extra stubborn, or just not acting the way they normally do. As I mentioned, they will have difficulty with separation and transitions. Give them that opportunity. Allow for that to happen. Be there to comfort them. Nap time may suddenly become more difficult than before. And for some children, they may disassociate and have difficulty engaging with their peers. And others may show signs of regressive behavior. At home, you might find there to be signs of fear and anxiety, fear of going to bed. They might start wetting the bed, even though they stopped doing that a long time ago. Nightmares, thumb sucking, and also disassociating and not engaging in play at home the way they used to. Children can also become extra clingy, needing more hugs and kisses than usual, and our job is to give it to them. That's what they need. They're letting us know what they need. And young children might not be able to express their anxiety verbally. They're going to use their behavior. We need to be gentle.
You know, we just heard a lot of specific things that we could look for. And I know, with me personally, children are different ages. They have different personalities. So they're going to experience things a little differently, and they're going to show signs differently. So when Joanne Trinkle said it's normal in a room, you have to know what that normal in a room with that child feels like. That really resonated with me and made perfect sense. It doesn't matter the age of the child, because like I said, the little bitties are going to not be able to tell you with words. They're going to tell you my tummy hurts. They're not going to be able to express really what they're feeling. They may tell you I have a headache. And the older children, they may regress a little bit. But you need to know those children, and that normal in a room really, really stuck with me. And I think that's a great way to think about it in any way with whatever age the child is. So we've heard about some of these signs. But what should we do if we see some of these signs? That's a question that we posed to our experts, and they did have some guidance for us. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
If you start seeing signs primarily of anxiety in young children or even older children, your job is to really stay calm, give them space, and be very aware of the signals that they're sending you so that when they need your reassurance, you're there.
I would say, if you're worried and you continue to be worried, there's no harm in asking for help. There's no harm in trying to figure out, should I be worried? So reaching out to try to get some support and some answers can maybe help reassure us to, I think it's okay. Or it can help reassure us that you were right. You should really be worried about this.
Try to bring out different ways where children can talk to you about their feelings. I love books. And if I can't find a book that shares a story that I want, you know what we do? We make up a book. And I love social stories. I think social stories are really important and can really help children unfold their feelings. I love puppets. I love puppets, and maybe I don't have access to fancy puppets, but I do have access to some socks and some magic markers. We can make the puppets come alive, and children can start to help us understand what's happening in their bellies.
The most important thing we can really do for kids is to listen. Listen to their signals and listen to what they have to say. And if you are co-parenting, discuss this with your partner so that your responses are consistent, because children who've experienced trauma rely on consistency. It equals safety for them. Use your family like a security blanket for your children. Wrap them up in family closeness and make sure your children have lots of family time. During times of stress and change, spend more time with your children, playing games, reading to them, or just holding them close.
Those were really great suggestions, I feel like, for what we can do. Awesome suggestions. In fact, I do want to go back to one of them though, Casey, because I know you have more you can kind of say to this. And that was Dr. Pointer when she talked about social stories. You and I have done a little bit of research that we're going to talk about in a second, but tell us more about social stories.
Sure. Social stories are basically short stories that help children navigate certain situations or events or activities, and they include information about what to expect in that situation. They could be, talking about taking a trip to the doctor or going to school or staying safe. So, for example, a social story, if you have a child who's maybe feeling anxious about going to the doctor, so you start your social story with what would happen before you go to the doctor. So, we're going to get up, we're going to eat breakfast, we're going to brush our teeth, we're going to get in the car, we're going to drive to the doctor's office. And then you would describe what will happen during the visit at the doctor's office. We'll walk in, we'll go up to the reception area and check in, then we'll be brought into a room where maybe we'll get our temperature taken, or they may weigh you or measure you. And then you talk about what will happen afterward. So after our visit with the doctor's all done, you might get a sticker, and then maybe we can go and get some ice cream. And describing the story in this way, telling the child step by step what will happen and what to expect, really gives them the chance to understand what's going to happen throughout the process and what to expect, so that there's no real surprises for them. And it also gives them the opportunity to ask any questions that they may have. So they're really a great way to help children process some of what's going on in their lives, and can be really helpful, I think, right now, if a child is maybe fearful of the adults around them now wearing masks. So maybe you could develop a social story that really describes to the child why you're wearing the mask, and when you have to put the mask on, and it's all about safety and keeping people protected. Or maybe you could have a social story that explains about community helpers and what they're doing right now to help keep everybody safe. So they're really great ways, and you can personalize them and really, tailor it to the child's need. So they're really great tools to be able to use. And you can find examples of them. There are some pre-written ones that you can find examples of, and they can be found in the pyramid model section of the New York State Early Childhood Advisory Council website. That's the New York State ECAC. You can find those on there. Their address, the ECAC website, can be found in the handouts.
Of course, because you're thorough, which is awesome. Also, I want to talk about something else again. The address is in your handouts. Check it out, because you're also going to find info on book nooks. Tell us about what those are, Case.
Okay. Book nooks are a little different than scripted stories, because book nooks are really guides. They're easy to use guides that adults can use alongside specific children's books. And they really are meant to help children learn social emotional skills through hands-on activities. So there are book nooks that are geared for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. So depending on what age group you're working with and what skill you're trying to teach, you can find one of these book nooks. And this situation that we're going through right now, I think, is causing a lot of fear for some of our children. So there is a specific book nook that I wanted to point out that some people might find useful, and it's geared for preschoolers, and it's a book nook for the book called Once I Was Very, Very Scared. It's a really cute book. It's got animals, a lot of great drawings, and it helps children, work through feelings of being scared. So I really recommend checking it out again at that website.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you for mentioning it. Of course, Casey put this in the handouts for everyone, so do check that out. They are on the ECAC website. So thanks for including that, Case. You're very good about that.
Well, you've gotta tell people where the resources are so that we can use them, because they really are great resources that can help. So we've looked for the signs in the children, things that may come up that may raise that red flag, that I think Tim Hathaway called it, that flag that goes up, that something's just not right
in the room.
Right, that normal in the room. So, not only do we need to look out for the sign in the children, but we need to look out for signs in ourselves. Trish, I'm sure you've heard this expression that, you have to put your own oxygen mask on when you're on the airplane. If something should happen, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help others put theirs on.
Yeah, does that sound familiar, Casey?
It does. It does. I hear that a lot. And, we say that to each other because if you don't take time to take care of yourself first, you will not have that ability to take care of others. So self-care or self-stewardship, that is the act of taking care of you so that you have the energy to take care of others. And we asked our experts about some self-care and self-stewardship things that we can do, and they gave us some guidance. And then we're going to hear that, and then we're going to hear another message of hope. And this one comes from Paulette Wally, who is the Rochester Regional Office Manager.
A lot of caregivers think it's selfish to take care of yourselves when you're taking care of kids. But if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be capable to kind of, respond and nurture and care if you're stressed out or you're at the edge. So for us, I think it's about knowing the state you need to be in to be helpful, caring, effective. How do you keep yourself or manage that state for yourself?
We get in the way of putting ourselves first because we feel like, how can I do that if I have to take care of everyone else? And my question simply is, if you don't do it, how effective are you going to be at taking care of everyone else? And so it begins with a promise, a commitment to self, that no matter what I need to do, I'm going to make sure that I am making myself a priority.
Take care of yourself, especially in times like this. Go for walks if you can. Exercise if you have to stay in. Maintain your social contacts.
Days and times like this, where we think about our lives as being a picture of our favorite drink, everything that you do is pouring out of you. Everything that you do for your work, for navigating these situations that we're all in now, it's all pouring out of you. But my question is, what if there is nothing in here? If there's nothing in here, how are you going to be at homeschooling? Which you didn't ask for this role, but how are you going to be if your picture is empty? How are you going to be with your 11-year-old who's really not dealing with some of these adjustments really well? I would like to ask you just to make yourself first so that you have the energy to be able to support the others in your environment.
So it's so important for us to care for ourselves, build our resilience so that we are in control of ourselves and can role model and help children learn how to tolerate their own uneasy feelings and eventually to take charge of themselves on their own. But we can't do that unless we're feeling okay. So it starts with us. It always, whether you're an educator or a parent, it starts with you.
Hi, I'm Paulette Wally with the Rochester Regional Office for the Division for Childcare. I am the Regional Manager. Greetings and thank you for attending tonight's webcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for what you're doing caring for our children during this crisis. By now, I am sure you have heard from each of your regulators, your licensor, registrar, and your CCR&Rs on a regular basis. It is our goal to continue to provide support to you as you care for our children and families. My message of hope to each of you, which is relevant for the weather as well as this crisis, is if you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine.
I want to thank Paulette for that message. I really, really love that idea of if you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine.
It's because you love that song, that's why.
It is, and it just puts a smile on my face, and it makes me happy, and it takes some of that stress away.
That's
And
resilience, Case.
it is, and speaking of experiencing stress, Trish, we want to take a minute to poll everybody to hear, what you do, what strategies you use when you are experiencing stress. So you see the questions come up. What strategies do you use? Do you breathe? Do you exercise? Do you call a friend? I know Trish and I, that's one of our favorites. Trish also likes to do self-talk, or as she calls it, she talks to her pets. So she does a little pet talk.
Oh, yeah.
Some people really prefer to take some alone time. Some people like to read. Some people take a nap. Some people like to scream or cry into a pillow. And some people just do something completely different, an other option. So what we'd like you to do is just click on which option is what you use when you're experiencing stress, which strategy do you use, and then make sure that you hit the submit button down at the bottom so that the results can come in. I know Trish is able to see those results as they come in. We're going to give everybody just a minute.
In fact, quite a few people, I'm just kind of looking at the results as they come in. I just want to make a mention as well. Remember to click that submit button. The first time we tried this, I actually forgot to click submit, and I couldn't, there was a very small number of us. I couldn't figure out why my result wasn't counting. Remember to click submit. Don't be like Trish. But when we're looking at the results, this is interesting, Case. Breathing exercises or breathing seems to be pretty popular with folks. 8% of us breathe and really practice that. The same percentage of us, well, a little higher, about 10% of us that are responding already exercise and call a friend. So Casey and I obviously talk a lot on the phone. We also take walks, the both of us. It seems we're not alone, Case.
There was one time I tried to call a friend while exercising, and that didn't turn out so well.
Yeah, that I'm never putting you on speaker again. I promise. It also seems like alone time, which, is always funny to me because I figure we're all alone. But I think what it is really that self-resilience, that processing, Case, and kind of learning our new normal and figuring it out. I think we all need time for that. I think like you, I'm not a parent myself, but you are a parent and you are a working parent. And think about all our early childhood educators in the audience. These guys are working, some of them are working all day right now and then going home to parent. So I think this stuff is really important.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need that alone time to kind of collect your thoughts and to regroup so that we can model proper, coping strategies and mechanisms.
Now, what else is popular right now is reading. A bunch of us, it seems, read. Not enough of us, I'm going to say, take a nap is only at 2%. I think maybe some of us need to catch up on our sleep, and all of you are probably thinking, Trish, I'm working as hard as I can. I don't have time to sleep.
True.
The really good news in this to me, Casey, because I can see the results, are that only 1% of us are screaming and crying, and that tells me that we're having some good coping mechanisms. But I do want to say that, don't you think that's important? Sometimes we need to let it go.
I was just going to say, sometimes I pick up a pillow, and if I just need to, I just scream as loud as I can into that pillow and just let all of that emotion and all of that stress, just let it physically out. Just get it out. So it's in the universe now. It's not trapped inside my own body. So yeah, I do it.
I think, and I'm looking at who knows what kinds of other good ideas. If you've got something that really works well for you, I know I myself meditate from time to time, just again, that calming exercise. We're going to hear a little more about that in a couple minutes, but just these neat things that seem to work for all of us. If any of you guys have those ideas that aren't kind of reflected in that list, give us a shout in the mailbox. Let us know what's working for you, because again, the best part of this is that we can share your good ideas and your best practices with your colleagues in the field. The bottom line is it benefits the kids, it benefits the children. So please do continue to share those good ideas. And I don't want to leave this open too long, Case. I just kind of wanted to give everyone a look at sort of how we're approaching this. What do you think?
No, I think it's great. I think, we've learned a lot. A lot of people are doing a lot of great things to, really get some of that stress out and to really follow some of these strategies. And as you did say, we are going to have an opportunity to practice a couple of these coming up. So
in fact, let's kind of think about that now, because 26% of us altogether seem to kind of think about breathing and mindfulness. So I think that's an excellent transition case to our next topic. And these, by the way, were two of those self-care or self-stewardship techniques. I have a hard time saying that. Self-stewardship techniques that Dr. Pointer recommended to us. And just a good way to kind of center ourselves and get back to a good place. So let's watch this next video for a little more about breathing and mindfulness.
And so one of the things that you and I can do as we try to practice greater self-stewardship is pay intentional attention to your breathing. And so nice deep breaths in and nice deep breaths out. Nice deep breaths in and nice deep breaths out. One of the great things about breathing strategies is they can work for everyone in your home. Everybody in the house needs to breathe, and it is a great calm down technique.
All right, so I invite you to just settle in your chair. If it's okay with you, you can close your eyes. And just feel your feet on the floor. And just be here right now, knowing there's nowhere to go or nothing to do. And I invite you now just to notice your breath. Maybe at the area of your nostrils, maybe your chest, maybe your belly. And just notice how the breath goes in and out, just in its own calm rhythm. And just easily breathe in and breathe out. And when your mind starts to wander, that's okay. Just bring it back to your breath, wherever you notice it the most for you. Knowing that that's just what our mind does. And you can silently say to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Just keeping your attention on your breath. It's breathing in, breathing out. So as we bring this breath awareness practice to a close, know that your breath is always with you. You can rely on your breathing at any time. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and return back to the room.
And for me, mindfulness just means focus. Focus. Doesn't mean I can get rid of all of the extra stuff that is around me. It just means that I'm going to focus. And so there's an activity called thinking in categories. What happens is you're just supposed to get nice and still, nice and comfortable as you can, and you try to just get in your mind categories. So get your mind nice and clear, and draw a line down your mind. And when you're doing the thinking in categories exercise, you want to choose 2 categories. So for example, I'm going to do fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables. And so as I think in categories, I do a nice deep breathing exercise first, and then I start to go. Bananas, cucumbers, cherries, asparagus, grapes, onions. And so what if I keep repeating the same things once or twice? That's okay. And so what if I could hear my husband slamming the cabinet door down when I was trying to do my mindful? It's okay. You just keep going. And what it should do is help you get more present, help you become more centered. Your 5-year-old is still at the table, having a fit because he doesn't want peanut butter and jelly today. They're still there. But you might have a bit more energy to deal with that because you practice a strategy that just helps you become more present. And when we're present, we can make better decisions. When we're being more conscientious about nice deep breaths, we can fully interact with life the way we need to. So it's just two simple things we can all think more about. Breathing, paying careful attention to your breathing, and then mindfulness exercises, which they're an abundant. There's so many different ways to do it, and it is a great skill that all the family can practice. My husband is a police officer, and I tried this one with him called Trace Your Foot. So it's just, you have your foot, and when you're having a moment where you just need to pull it together, I say trace your foot. So you just in your mind, you just trace your foot. I call them my pocket strategies.
Casey, do you remember telling me to trace my foot right before we started when I was nervous? I do want to mention to everyone, thank you for your feedback on our poll, by the way. Really appreciate you letting us know what worked for you and what is working for you in terms of your own calming strategies. Feel free, I have closed that poll. It probably tells you that on your screen. Go ahead and click that, get rid of it if you want to. We won't need that, excuse me, anymore this evening. Oh, there we go with the Astelin, sorry.
Sorry, Trish, I got it. Dr. Pointer had mentioned some of her pocket strategies, so we'd like to go ahead and offer up one of our own mindfulness strategies that works for us. I call it calming quotes, and I use this one myself. And how it works is you have a few special phrases or sayings that are meaningful to you or close to your heart to have at the ready to repeat in your head, maybe as a mantra when you feel overwhelmed or stressed. And as we heard earlier, one of mine is, "You are my sunshine." Maybe you could ask the families for important phrases in their lives that work for them that could be shared with the children to help strengthen those connections between home and the program. And we got some messages of hope from Lynette, who's a registration supervisor, and we thought that some of her messages might be useful to some of you as ideas for some calming quotes that you could use. And Lynette wrote, "There is always light at the end of the tunnel. This too shall pass. Continue to be vigilant, and we are in this together." So we want to thank Lynette for submitting those to us. And like I said, I think they might be a great starting point for some people for some calming quotes that they can take with them and use in their head in times of stress.
Good suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you to Lynette. So Trish, as we're wrapping up this section on self-care, we wanted to share another message of hope, and these words came from Andrea, a supervising early childhood consultant, and she wrote, "Take time to reflect on what's wonderful in your life. Take the time to look at the beauty around you. That may mean looking out the window to see trees and flowers blooming. Maybe look up and receive the warmth of the sun's rays. How about sipping some tea while listening to the patter of rain? Embracing the small yet powerful signs of life and beauty around you. Carve out some me time to meditate, read, exercise, or simply be still. You make a difference. Keep being wonderful, keep providing quality childcare, and never, ever give up or give in."
I'm really glad that we were able to get some of these messages of hope and these really positive, inspirational things from folks in the field case, because I do think it's a resource for everybody. I really think that this support and this feeling of support is a resource. It's a way that we can all get through this. So we definitely want to thank Andrea and everyone who has submitted these messages of hope in the pictures and the videos and everything. It's just really appreciated, and it helps everyone else feel supported. Let's talk a second though, Case, about resources, because I know that, this is something that's ongoing. Providers are always looking for resources, not only in their area, but to pass along to families. And a lot of you might be thinking, what's going on right now in my area? How can I help the families that I work with connect with things like food or even financial supports, academic supports, academic supplies. How can we even really get all these things in place? Now, I know you guys are really excellent at reaching out and being involved in your community and knowing these things, but we did talk to a few folks about this and where just some good ideas to go look for these things. So we're going to hear from Regulator Angela Ennis and also Sarah Beyer-Ellis, who is the Regional Office Manager for the Albany region, and they talked to us a little bit about how the Office of Children and Family Services is actually partnering and collaborating with different agencies, our local child care resource and referral agencies, other community resources, all in an effort to provide that help, provide that support that's needed. So let's take a look at this video about resources.
Well, we've worked closely with a lot of our local child care resource and referral agencies who have also been able to provide supplies, but not only supplies, but support and connections for providers in the community to assist them and to assist OCFS in being able to distribute supplies that are needed, to continue to help parents find childcare for essential workers that their daycares may have closed.
So unfortunately, I'm unable to go into majority of my programs because they are in schools and schools are currently closed. So I continue to reach out to my programs weekly just to ask them how they are, if they have questions. Most of them are not working right now, but I still feel that it's necessary for me to reach out to them just to tell them that I'm supporting them. I was a school age director myself, so I know how stressful this time is and how hard it must be for them to not be able to be with the children directly. So I just want them to know that I'm here to support them if they have questions, if they have concerns, even if they just need to vent about something, I'm here to support them.
OCFS has really been striving to make an effort to support and provide providers in the community to continue to provide service to essential workers and children. And through doing that, we've done various programs. We were able to acquire diapers and get those to programs, along with hand sanitizer and some PPE equipment. And we continue working not only to procure supplies, but also to work with local grocery stores and different programs so that providers are able to obtain milk and food and different resources that are needed to continue the programming for children.
Where I work, we are actually asking programs directly what sorts of things they need: gloves, sanitizer, masks, diapers, anything. And we are looking to find those things for these programs and help provide them so they can pick them up so that they have the things that they need.
We also have a link on our website to the National Diaper Bank for people who are in need of diapers and supplies. And I do know that several of the local school districts, especially in Schenectady and Albany, are continuing to provide meals to children, even though the schools are currently closed.
There is always things changing, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly. It can be really overwhelming. OCFS has done a wonderful job with keeping us up to date. And in return, I'm making sure that I'm sending any Dear Provider letters, any memos, any changes directly to the program when I get them, even if it means sending several emails a day, because I think it's important for them to understand and recognize these changes, even if they're not open, because majority of the programs unfortunately are not open right now, but to just make sure they have that information. If they have questions, if they don't understand it, that I'm here to explain it to them and make sure that they have what they need to meet those requirements.
Thank you so much to everyone who has continued to work so hard and done everything possible for the best interests of children during this time. We truly appreciate your efforts. We are here to support you. Our office may be closed, but we are able to be reached at any time that there's questions or concerns, and we'll continue to support the provider community and the children in any way possible.
And our thanks to Sarah and everyone working to make all this possible. They did mention the OCFS website. Really can't suggest that enough as a resource. They update it all the time with all the recent information. And remember, as you heard, if you have questions or you need support, please do reach out to your regulator. You call them or email. I am going to suggest email though, because that way, by giving them your email, you're going to be able to get the most current information from the Office of Children and Family Services in a really timely fashion. Things like those Dear Provider letters. Case, I want to give you time because I know there were a couple things you wanted to get to from the mailbox.
Yeah, we have gotten some really good suggestions on resources in the mailbox, and so we wanted to share those. We've got a program here who they've deployed iPads to children and families that expressed a need for them, and those will be available to the children and families for the remainder of the school year. Someone pointed out they have a local food pantry that provides food to families that have a place to live, but they may not have enough food. And they suggested to find your local food pantry to try searching on the internet by by typing in food pantry and then inserting your specific town or city or county.
Yep.
We did hear in that video about a diaper resource, and we've got information here on another one of those. They say that to dial 211 to find diapers in your local community, or you can try online at 211.org.
Good suggestion.
Yeah, another program says it's important to make sure that you and the families you're serving are doing well emotionally. And you can find resources to help with that on the New York State Office of Mental Health. That's omh.ny.gov. And then there's the New York State Parenting.org, that's nysparenting.org. They've gathered a list of parenting resources for families. These are things about managing behavior, stress, loss, how to talk to children about crisis. And then someone else pointed out that internet and cable companies are currently providing free services to home where children reside. And you can find out about those by searching for internet or cable company, searching their websites on the internet to try to find those. And Trish, I think there's a couple more that you have.
Yeah, you know, our team just passed along a couple more. The National Center for Pyramid Model Innovations. If you Google NCPMI, they have an emergency resource page. It's got posters, tip sheets, other info, not only for professionals, but you can share it with your families, and that's updated every week. Also have to mention federal CARES funding. Now, programs and parents are able to apply online for funds for supplies, child care payments for essential workers. Our child care resource and referrals are actually contracted to implement these programs, and they are the ones that are available to answer your questions, assist you in that process. You can find all the information and a list of the CCR&Rs on the OCFS website. Contact information, of course, thanks to Casey, is in your handouts as well. So the work we all do, that you all do in our audience, extremely important. We can't say that enough tonight. But with importance, there's sometimes pressure and stress, right? These uncertain times have us all wondering about a lot of things. But one thing we know is that kindness, gratitude, support, these are the things that make it better. And just about everyone we've talked to throughout this process, that's what they wanted to mention and to pass along to you all, was this sense of hope. So here's what we want to share. Please listen in and please take this to heart.
We've made great new relationships with families and children that we wouldn't have had the opportunity to otherwise. So very grateful for that.
So I just want to say to school age programs, daycares, anyone who's providing care for children, we see you, we hear you, we support you, we love you. I come from this field. I know what it feels like. I know how difficult it probably is right now to not have that contact directly with the children. But the things that you're doing to still be in contact with these families and the children is so great. And I'm so proud of how we've all come together to make this difficult time easier. Again, I just want to make sure that you guys know we see, we hear, and we love you, and we're here to support you. I'm here to support all programs. I've been there. I know what it feels like. So we're here for you guys.
together we can, get through all of this.
There's this really cool response of human nature that's coming out. In the beginning of all of this, we heard a lot of just tragedy and gloom and, oh no, it's going to be bad, and that whole negative thing. And I think now there's kids creating podcasts or little internet shows of what was good today, those kind of ideas and opportunities, tapping into that creativity of what are we grateful for.
I'm so proud to be a part of this movement. It's amazing what the providers are doing. It's more than ever. We all need to stay together and just work together. And I'm just amazed, honestly.
The best part of my day is, seeing how excited the children get to see those staff. We have consistent staff every day, so we're all in this together, and everyone can feel it.
I feel like our childcare professionals have always felt not professional, and I think if we come away from here feeling like I am a teacher, I have an important role to play in society, that message is important to me, as too is the message of making sure we have a healthy village. We don't just need a village, we need the village to be healthy. So if those two things are conveyed, I would feel very good.
Stay strong, to try to meet every morning with a smile and know that each day is a step closer to getting back together.
As difficult as this is, your being here right now is really critical. And it's critical because you're keeping kids in relationship. Relationship is what ties us all together, right? So if the end goal is to get to a point either with this COVID thing that we're going through, or if it's to get through whatever trauma that child has faced in their life, what we have to do is we have to help kids see that. We have to help kids get a sense that there's a path there and that we can do something together to move down that path. And your relationship is how you do that. It's about staying in relationship with that child. Thank you so much for being where you are with the children and the families that you are. They won't forget this. So thank you so much for that. Go get them. Go get them.
Providers, we just all need to hang in there and just keep working together. And when we do come back, when this all ends, we need to continue the way that what we're doing right now. We can continue doing that, because this is grade A, this is grade A stuff. The love that we have that I'm seeing is, we need to carry it on when we do end up coming back together.
Know that we are thinking about each other. We're thinking about our, kids that we can't be with, the families that, we want to be back together with, and just, let people know that we're out here with you and we're going to be back together soon.
If ever before you doubted the fact that you are needed to help us all as a society, I want you to remember you are worthy and you are enough. Sometimes we are called babysitters. Sometimes we're called childcare providers. I call you teacher, because someone who imparts knowledge to another one is a teacher. And when you teach a little one how to not poop in his diaper and put that in the toilet, you are a teacher. And so I want you to remember you are worthy and you are enough. Teachers make every other profession possible. And right now, even in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis, you are helping a child find his occupation or her occupation. And I want you to remember that. We are going to get through this.
And one of the things that I have become very aware of is how the public and the world really has understood how important the work you do is as an early childhood educator and teachers, but also a new appreciation of doctors, nurses, people who work in the grocery store, the pharmacy, bus drivers, delivery people, mailmen. Everybody suddenly is being recognized as playing a really important role in the lives of one another. And this is a real opportunity to create a new reality, a reality where we suddenly understand, because I don't think we have for a very long time, that when we care about each other, that what we do makes a difference, and it not only affects us, but it affects everybody else, not only in our lives, but in the world.
That piece chokes me up every single time.
Me too. Powerful stuff. Real powerful stuff.
And it's not going to surprise anyone that you and I have talked our way out of time, Case. We have really covered a ton of important, valuable stuff. We are all out of time. I know there's stuff in the mailbox that we didn't get to, but your questions, your feedback, it's very important to us. If we weren't able to get to that, like Casey has told you, we will be getting back to you in a day or so. Please just do bear with us. We will follow up. I also just want to mention training certificates as we kind of close here. These are going to be processed at the end of our training, and they are going to be available right on your My Activities page where you access this training. They're going to be there within about 24 hours. The system takes a little bit to process, so just give it about 24 hours and you'll find your certificate right on your account. What about video resources, Casey?
Well, I was going to say, Trish, you mentioned questions, and one question we get all the time is how can we see the videos? How can we see other videos? So if you are looking for more informative videos like the ones we've seen tonight, you can visit our Early Childhood Education and Training Program YouTube channel. There you'll find many video resources that we've made with a lot of your help out there in the audience for us. So you can just go to YouTube, search for ECETP, hit that subscribe button on the channel, and then share it with your friends, and you have access to our video resources.
And you may well see yourself in your program in some of those. We also want to make sure that we take time to say a very special thank you to the experts that made their time to talk to us, offer this great information. Joanne Trinkle, Tim Hathaway, Nefertiti Pointer, and Barbara Kaiser. Thank you so much. And of course, our thanks to Janice Molnar, all of the OCFS regional office managers, regulators, all the child care providers who shared their thoughts and their messages of hope with us. And of course, finally to you for all your participation and all your feedback in the mailbox. In honor of you, in honor of all our teachers, our early childhood educators, let's go to one more video expressing our appreciation for all that you do in honor of Provider Appreciation Day.
Child care providers treat our children like seeds.
And now kindly pick it up and just gently pour it in.
Every day, providers nurture their budding creativity.
Share with your friends, paint the whole thing.
Providers root them with love. Providers give them room to grow. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of children every day. Thank you for strengthening our communities. Thank you for your compassion and sustaining a brighter future. Happy Provider Appreciation Day.
Happy Provider Appreciation Day. I know that obviously some of us aren't in our programs to celebrate, but I think that's pretty awesome, don't you, Case?
I agree, and I want to say again, Happy Provider Appreciation Day, and thank you for all that you are doing out there for the children and the families. We really, really appreciate it. You're doing amazing things, so keep up the great work. Now, Trish, we couldn't think of a better way to wrap up the program than to share this message of hope that we received from Julie, an assistant bureau director. And Julie wrote, "Thank you for showing up every day. Thank you for lovingly and skillfully caring for the children of New York State. Thank you for being a source of happiness and stability and bringing a smile to the faces of the children in our communities. Your dedication, endurance, and tireless efforts are recognized and greatly appreciated. Each of you play an instrumental role in providing a stable and caring environment for the children we serve during this time of emotional stress. We're valued beyond measure. Wishing you hope, joy, and wellness. Thank you for all that you do. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay strong. Keep being amazing.
Keep it up. Keep up the awesome, awesome work. We want to mention as we close just a bit of our functionality here. As you saw in the beginning, that video you saw playing, there is a participant reaction questionnaire or PRQ for tonight's training. And Sydney has actually helped us all out tremendously by sending that to your email. So there is going to be a link probably in your email already. The reason we really, really value this is because it gives us valuable information, not only about this training, how it went, what we can do better for you, but also what you need in the future, which we're always looking into. We're always, Casey and I and everybody else on our team, doing research and trying to stay on top of. So we do want to mention, please do take the time, fill out that participant reaction questionnaire. It will have been emailed to you, probably waiting in your email box. There's a message from the early childhood program, and you just click on the link in that email and you fill it right out. Now, once you've obviously taken care of everything, and you can check that link out if you want, but after you are all set with that, you can actually click the red X button at the bottom of your screen. You'll notice that you have a couple control buttons. If you click that X in a minute, it will actually close out our meeting for you. That's how you end your session tonight. But before we do that, we really, really just wanted to thank everybody for being here. Not only do we appreciate your time, we appreciate the tremendous effort that you put in, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much on behalf of all our team in the Office of Children and Family Services, my awesome co-host, Casey Becker. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for attending, and please, please do stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.